All right, we're going to take a look at doing the logo file. So the first thing you want to make sure is you've at least run AutoCAD once. If you're trying to double click on the file to open it up and it's not opening, try running AutoCAD first. You should have done this already. Once you've got the file open, this is what you've got. So this is our effectively title page, and the drawing area is going to be inside this blue area right here. So we're going to start with a circle. You're going to go up here and click on the circle command, and the default circle draws by clicking on the center and drawing out to the radius. So when you click on the circle, now you're going to be in circle drawing mode. So the center point for the circle is going to be right here at the intersection of these two lines. Now you notice a little green marker will show up. That's called a snap. So when I click on that, the point that I click on will snap to that little point. We'll do more about object snaps in the next tutorial. Now I'm going to drag that out until my circle fits just inside that blue area, and I'm going to click, and there's my circle. You can see that your circle should be no bigger than the blue area. Now I'm going to start with another circle, and again on the center point right there, I'm going to make this one just a little smaller, so I've got kind of a ring shape right here. Alright, so that's going to be the start of my logo. Now, the next thing is I want to get rid of this area right here. I want to get rid of this. So there's a couple of ways I can do that. The first thing is, notice that I don't have anything selected. I don't have any tool active. So right now I'm in selection mode. So what I can do with selection mode is I can left click my mouse and drag a window around this. You've probably already seen this little window happening. This is called a selection window. So if I draw around that, everything inside that window is selected. Once I've selected everything, I can go up and I can click on this button, which is the erase button. And that will delete what I've got. Now, one more little tool tip here. If you accidentally delete something, or you draw something that you didn't want to do, the undo key is Control Z. If you hit Control Z, that will go back one step. If I hit Control Z again, notice that my circle disappears, and if I hit it one more time, notice that I'm back to the beginning. Every time I hit Control Z, I go back one step. Now, if I want to go forward a step, I will hit Control Y, and Control Y, and Control Y. And now I'm back to where I started. So Control Z is go back in the sequence of steps that you did. Control Y is go forward. And of course you can't go forward to the point where it's done the assignment for you. You're going to have to do that yourself. Now, one other control key that is useful, you might notice up here, if you take a look up here, here is my file name, EX1 logo. So that's the file that I opened. Now, you notice that little star next to that. What that means is my file is not saved. Now, this is a little different from Google Classroom in that you have to save your file automatically. So there's a couple of ways to do that. One is to go up here and click on this button right here. And if you click on that button, it will save the file. That little star disappears. You have just saved your file. The other way is to hit the Control S key. Sorry, that was Control X. Control S. There we go. Control S does something called a quick save. It's always a good idea to save your file every now and then. Alright, so we're going to start with drawing our initials. We're going to draw our initials in block letters. And I'm just going to say, let's say that my name, I'm going to go down here and edit my name. Now to edit some text that's already there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight that. I'm going to hover over top and I'm going to double click on it, and you should see that now I'm in edit mode, and let's say my name is going to be Fred Jones. All right. And of course I'm using the mouse to zoom in and out here. And once I'm done that, I'm just going to click outside of that box, and there's my name right there. And you might want to edit the date to today's date as well. Now, so I'm going to draw the initials FJ. Okay. So I'm going to start with my line tool up here. And I'll just start somewhere right about here. Now, you can see that as I move my mouse, I started drawing my line. As I move my mouse, I get this little guideline. That's a vertical guideline. And what it helps me do is draw lines straight up and down. I also can get a guideline for drawing horizontally. So that just helps me draw things. It's like a little ruler. It's helping you draw straight up and down. So there's part of my F. I'm going to go across here, go down. Every time I click, I draw a line. Okay. Now, draw that, and you can see. Now, here's where I'm going to zoom in here with the mouse, the middle scroll wheel. Now, what I would like is I would like this line right here to be the same length as this line right here. Notice I have not clicked yet. Here's a little tip that helps. If I want these lines to be the same length, what I can do is I can move my mouse up here, and there is an end point. You can see it's showing me where the end of those two lines are. Now, I'm not going to click there. I'm just going to hover, and I'm going to move my mouse down. And you can see there's a little guideline that's showing me, hey, you mean this point right here? And as soon as I get down to this point, it will snap in, and you can see, oh, right there, and I can click, and there we go. So now I've made those two lines exactly the same length. And I can continue down. Now, again, same thing. How far down do I want to go? Well, I want to go as far down as this line is. So I'm going to hover right there. I'm going to move across, click, and I'm going to finish up right there. Press Enter, and there's my first initial. Okay? Don't worry too much about your art skills as long as you've got a enclosed line right here. All right, now the next part is, let's do the letter J. So again, I'm going to hover right here and go across, and you can see that I have now guided to this point right here, and I'm going to click. So now the top of my letter is going to be the same height. And again, I could use the existing points. Now, when I get down to the bottom here, here's a little bit of a trick. I'm going to go with just straight lines. This is okay. Now, even though the bottom of a letter J is made up of curves, curves are a little tricky to work with. And not everybody has curves in their letters. So if your initials are like AM, you can get away without making any curves. If your initials are like RB, well, then you've got lots of arcs to work with. So you don't have to draw lines that have curves in them. All right, so there's FJ. Those are my initials. Now, a couple more things. What about some color? You notice that I'm drawing in white on black, and I can see all my other stuff is colored. Well, to change the color, I can go up here to this little icon right here, and I can click on this, and I can change my drawing color. So there's a red color. We'll talk about those three numbers a little bit later. And from now on, any lines that I draw would be in red. I'm going to undo that. Control Z. Whoops, that was Control A is select everything. Control Z is undo. There we go. Now, what if I've already drawn something? Well, here's the nice thing. You can use that selection tool. I'm going to wrap around here. I'm going to right-click on this. Now I have two options down here when I right-click, Properties and Quick Properties. I'm just going to go to Quick Properties because that's a shorter list of things. And here is the color of my line. You can see right now it's set by layer is white. I'm going to click on that. And I can choose from this list of colors right here. Or if I want to get fancy, I can go into a color selector. I can get a lot more different colors here. You might want to stick to a color that's visible on a dark background. This is where we get really fancy with the color. And again, we'll talk about this a little bit later. Let's just leave it at that right there. And there's my letter. Same thing, maybe I want to change the color here. I'm going to drag a window, so I select everything in there. Right-click, Quick Properties. What if I go to Properties? Properties looks the same, but I get a much longer list of things. So here's the color. Let's make that. There we go. And once I'm done, I'm going to close this little window right here by clicking on the X. And now I'm going to press the Escape key. So the Escape key, upper left-hand corner of your keyboard, says ESC. That's a useful thing. If it's kind of a panic button, if things are not going the way you want, press the Escape key a couple of times, start over again. All right, the last thing I'd like to do on my initials is I'd like to fill in the area with color. So to do that, I'm going to go over here and I am going to choose the hatch command. Now, hatch command is a little tiny button right up here. I'm going to click on that and notice that my entire ribbon bar changes. Now I am working in hatch creation. Now, you need to take a look at two things. First of all, what is the hatch type? I'm going to start with a solid color. And below that, what is the hatch color? And again, let's just pick something here. Now, to do a hatch, what you do is move your cursor into an enclosed area. This is why I asked you to do block letters, because to do a hatch, you need a completely enclosed area. So you can see that if I move my cursor in here, it's going to fill in the entire area with that particular color, but it's going to stop at the boundaries. All right, so there's one color. Now, if I want to do more of the same color, I can do that. This is a little tricky. If I want to change the color, I have to do this. I have to close it, and I have to start my hatch command again. Otherwise, everything's going to be the same color. Let's pick some other colors. I'll just randomly pick that. There's a nice color right there. Close that. Go to another color. Okay, so you can see that that is a hatch. It just fills in the area. Now, if you do not have a filled in area, just as an example right here, let's say I left a little gap. Okay, and sometimes these gaps can be tiny. If I try and fill that in with a hatch, it's just going to flood the entire area. So this is why you have to have a completely enclosed area. Just going to erase that. Now, one last little thing about the hatch pattern. One kind of neat hatch pattern is what's called a gradient. This gradient goes from blue to yellow. Kind of makes a neat transition from one color to another. You can of course change that color. You can change the style. Okay, and there we go. That is our logo file. We're done. Don't forget, save your file before you quit. So Control S will save your file. Now, one last thing, if you close the program, okay, so let me just give you a little example right here. Let's say there we go. Now, if I try and close the program, if I see this message, what this means is, hey, I made some changes after I saved it last. Do you want to save those changes? If you click on yes, it will save those changes. If you click on no, you won't save the changes. Cancel will take you back to the program. So just be careful when you're saving your files. Make sure that you save your files again, and see that little star right there? That means that there's some changes I made, so I'm going to make sure to hit Control S, and that star should disappear. And if I close my program, I won't get that message.